Time to dive deeper into PGA contest selection on DraftKings and FanDuel. Part 3 of this advanced daily fantasy golf series starts right now, talking GPPs, showdown, and cash games. What's up, guys? Joe Holka here. Welcome to another daily fantasy sports and betting video. If this is your first time here and you want to become a profitable DraftKings player and get better at betting, start now by subscribing to the channel. Make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss anything along the way. If you're already a Holkamaniac, you know what to do. Smash that like button and we're getting rolling. As we dig deeper into some game selection, really wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between single entry, 3 max. I know we talked a lot about MME in part 2, so definitely check out that video if you haven't already. But game selection is just such a big part of being a profitable DFS player, and there's a lot of interesting wrinkles in PGA DFS that I think you guys will enjoy.
Golf is a very hard sport week to week to be super consistent at. So something that really the community has kind of embraced over the last 2 years of golf is really just talking about it from a tournament perspective, talking about exposures and like all of that stuff, just because it's just very hard to predict 6 golfers given the constraint of the DraftKings salary cap who's going to make the cut. Golf cash games are just a super difficult proposition. Probably actually, I would say a little bit less so in head-to-head, like weeks where I'm going to play PGA DFS, like for cash, I'll probably lean towards getting more of my action in a head-to-head compared to like 50-50s, where the exact opposite is true of like NFL and NBA. But probably the biggest thing is that it's just the way that the sport is scored, the sample sizes involved just make much more sense for a tournament sport for DFS.
Derek, I'm actually pretty similar to you in most sports. Like I play like the mid to higher stakes in football. Like I play the 1500. That's only under 100 people as far as field size. So like I'm rolling out one lineup per slate on the majority of the sports that I'm playing. So I guess talk a little bit about the single entry approach in golf, because I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the MME game in this sport, at least the people I've talked to so far. So how have things gone for you so far in just like the single to maybe even like 2 or 3 lineup approach? I think that's a little different than most.
Yeah, the single entry approach in golf isn't for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Definitely more stressful, especially on Fridays with the cut sweat. But it's a lot of fun. And I've just had most of my success pretty much in every sport in the smaller field, higher buy-in type of entries where I'm pretty much building a cash game type of lineup with 1 or 2 pivots.
That sounds exactly like what we've been talking about in NFL like the whole year. So you and I are pretty similar in game selection for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And then when it comes to PGA, I'll typically build a second or third lineup and typically have each golfer on 2 of them, 2 of the 3. That way one golfer can't ruin my entire week. And even if it does, there's always the weekend slate. We can always hit the nuts on the showdown slate.
Derek does that all the time. Or it's that third lineup that he throws in at the last minute. That's the one that wins. I feel like that's happened a lot over the last 6 months. So you're never down and out, right?
Yep. You always got to fire at that showdown slate. If you ever see me $1,000 head-to-heads, my main lineup is not doing so well. If you are mass multi-entering, building 100 lineups, then you're really just chasing upside. You're chasing that big prize in the tournament that you're entering. If you're playing cash games, then you definitely want to lean on the more consistent golfers. I kind of just build that way.
Same with you, Justin. Like, I mean, some golfers that like they're pretty consistently making the cut, but maybe don't have a shot to win. Is that still like someone that's in your thought process?
I think for sure. I mean, when your priority is getting 6 out of 6 guys through the cut, in a no-cut event, I'm more apt to taking the volatile guys, or if I'm playing 1 or 2 lineups in a GPP. But even in tournaments, there's value in getting all your guys through the cut. So the plotters, the veterans, the guys that make a cut and finish 30th pretty consistently, they still have value in DFS no matter what format you're playing. So don't completely write them off, even if they aren't guys that are consistently threatening for top 5 finishes.
But do you think that this sport shapes up really well for MME, or do you think that it's viable still to go with the single lineup approach?
I think the way to get started if you're just playing for the first time is to try to go to the smaller fields where getting 6 to 6 guys through the cut might be good enough to double or triple up your money, and kind of building your bankroll there. If you have a big bankroll and you want to play, then the 150 max is definitely fine. But I've always found that the 3 max tournaments, if anything, ownership gets even more inflated on those. The contrarian strategy can still work. Plus, you only have to beat a couple hundred people to win. And so to me, that's more a equivalent to trying to play, you know, a small field, higher stakes NFL tournament versus firing at the Millionaire Maker. And it just kind of depends where your bankroll's at. But I think free max is a really good place to start. And that's where kind of I would advise most of our subscribers to start.
Davis, would you mostly agree? Are you playing a lot of MME for golf, or are you playing some single entry stuff? Like, how did you get started, and what are you doing now?
So I'm like 2 years behind everyone else in DFS in terms of like doing MME stuff. When the tools first came out, when like the create 100 lineups with customized optimizations, like probably like 3 years ago, I guess I did a ton of it, and then like 2017, I just didn't play near as much DFS, so I'm kind of playing catch up. But I would say my strategy this year for golf is I'm going to be doing more like 30 or 40 teams in those, and like or like trying to find like some of the 20 max entries. Like that's more comfortable for me in terms of like not getting overexposed. Like I'm not really trying to get like 2K out a weekend on golf, because I also can't help myself, and I will be playing cash. Like I know that it's just those dollars would be better off invested in tournaments, but like if I'm going to watch a weekend of golf, I want to have like a real sick, like 6-6 cut sweat going on.
Yeah. I figured that you'd be playing at least a little bit of cash, Davis. Like
I can't help it.
And it's one of the sports where you only have to have 1 or 2 big weeks a year, and it pretty much pays for the rest. But yeah, on a point per dollar, or on a per dollar basis, it's definitely the best sweat that you get. You get the Friday cut sweat, which I think is honestly more important than the Sunday sweat. And then you obviously have the Sunday sweat as well. So it's a lot of fun. It's my favorite sport when it comes to DFS, and it continues to grow.
By the way, guys, if you've ever found value in any of my videos or live streams, one of the best ways to support what I'm doing here for free is to throw me the follow over on Twitter. If you're new in the community, I also do a ton of content that is exclusive only to Instagram. So if you get a chance today, make sure you're following me over there as well, and I'd really appreciate it. With so much variance in PGA DFS, a lot of people have been asking if cash games are viable. So it's definitely a hot topic for us. Are you playing a lot of high stakes cash? Like, what are the cash games like in this sport? Is it similar to something like baseball, where you're still trying to eat a lot of variance in some ways, but the higher stakes can still be soft at times?
So over the years, I've kind of reduced my cash game exposure pretty much in all sports, just because as the industry gets smarter, the edge in cash games kind of gets smaller. I'll still play a little bit, but I'm mostly interested in single entry and 3 max tournaments at this point. And
nice.
That's kind of where I do my cash game build with a couple of pivots, and I found that works well for me.
Justin, Jason, you guys playing any cash games for golf, or mostly tournaments?
Yeah, I'm playing a little cash games, and what I found to be more profitable, and I'm going to put this again to the test this year. I did it last year. Is playing more head-to-heads rather than the we'll call it, what are they? The MME 50-50s. Yeah. Just because I think the cash lines can get a little skewed there, especially if you get somebody, or a very similar cash line that gets put out there. So I found more success in going to the head-to-heads. I just do random. I don't try and pick my opponents. As I go up the dollar amount, there are, if you get into rhythm and you start to build good models, you can kind of find I'll call them the guys that are always sitting around in the, $200 head-to-heads, $500 head-to-heads, and $1,000. You can kind of understand what their lineups are going to be eventually. So if you can gain the edge there, certainly I'd recommend taking it. But I personally stick to the more head-to-heads rather than the MME 50-50s.
One final note on cash games. For the majors, I do up my cash game exposure because
Definitely.
There's a lot of casual money that comes in. So I definitely play a lot of head-to-heads and 50-50s.
Before we get back at it, just want to thank everyone that has bookmarked my Amazon link. Definitely the #1 way you can support what I'm doing here for free. A lot of people have been using it for their day-to-day shopping at Amazon. Honestly, what you buy doesn't even matter as long as my link brings you to that page. You're doing your part to support the channel. So let me know in the comments below if you decide to join the rest of everyone else in the Amazon crew. I'll be sure and give you a shout out in the next video. We talked a lot about knowing your scoring in the beginner guide, so if you haven't checked out that video, definitely check that one out as well. But a big part of it is the difference between DraftKings and FanDuel scoring.
The strategy overall in terms of scoring is pretty similar now. FanDuel has refined it a little bit since they first kind of piloted golf over the last couple years. So in that sense, it's similar. The one sense where it's not similar is that FanDuel tends to have a looser salary cap, and this has pretty much been true, almost every week. DraftKings loosens it up for the majors to where they're pretty similar, but you will see that the higher priced guys be higher owned on FanDuel because their pricing tends to be a little bit softer. So you'll get 35-40% owned guys over there. And we actually joked on our Roto Grinder show, most of my big hits tend to be on DK, and Jason's had a lot of success on FanDuel. So we joked that the other one, we should just play those sites and skew the other one and then meet up in the middle at the end of the year and see where we're both at. But yeah, it's a little bit of a different dynamic, because if you went and built one roster on DraftKings and you built one roster on FanDuel right now, you're going to like the looks of the FanDuel roster a lot better. So it does make that game theory angle a little bit different.
I think for the most part, it's just variation of scoring. I think the pricing is different. And so I think your base metrics aren't that different on FanDuel versus DraftKings. You have a little bit more streaky bonus type metrics, but I think your fundamentals as far as identifying value and picking out who's going to be owned where is basically the same for FanDuel. So I don't sweat differentiating that all that much.
Yeah, I'll take, for example, last week, the lineup that I came in second in on FanDuel, I wouldn't have even come close to being able to make it on DraftKings. I'd been over the salary cap by about 1,000. And, it does create certain opportunities, though, whereas if a guy is overpriced on FanDuel versus his DraftKings price, his ownership will, as Justin said, one will go up to 60% and the other will be completely dropped off, especially in the higher dollar stuff. So if the expected chalk, where it's going to go on FanDuel, you can certainly get some gameplay leverage there as well. And yeah, you can normally just stack 3 or 4 studs in there. And if you pick your 2 values right, which, I kind of pride myself on doing, you can have some very good success over there.
Yeah, we've definitely got a couple people in the community that are FanDuel heavy, so I know they appreciate that perspective as well. Another quick reminder, if you're looking to invest in yourself and take your game to the next level, I do offer one-on-one coaching, so check out joeholka.com/coaching for more information on that. If you prefer to learn more in a group setting, most people don't even realize that if they already have Amazon Prime, which a lot of people do, you automatically have access to a free Twitch Prime subscription as well. And with that, you get access to our premium Discord chat, as well as a bunch of other subscriber-only perks. Regardless, if you're not taking advantage of the live streams, you're definitely doing yourself a disservice. Be sure and follow over at twitch.tv/JoeHolka so you don't miss anything. If you haven't checked out Showdown in some other DraftKings sports, I definitely love the format for PGA, so I wanted to make sure I asked these guys about what they think about it so far and if they have any strategy tips for you guys. As far as Showdown goes, that would just be one round, correct?
So there's actually a couple different formats. So there's the round 1, round 2, round 3 Showdown. That's just one round, and it's literally just like birdies and bogeys, and it's just all the scoring points. There's also weekend golf, which used to be big. They're starting to bring it back a little bit. So that's the 3rd and 4th rounds. And that's, again, just the scoring points, birdies and bogeys. And then the 4th round Showdown is actually a unique beast in itself, because that mirrors the main slate a little bit more, where they're taking into account the finishing position and the scoring there. And so those prices get set kind of towards the end of round 3, but before it's finalized. And so if guys make a charge late on Saturday, they can end up being really big values on the round 4 Showdown.
Is the scoring the same?
It's not. No, it's more emphasis. Yeah, it's so crazy. It's more emphasis on birdies. It's 5.25 for birdies, but it's also more emphasis. Bogeys are, I think, -1.5.
Okay.
Double bogeys.
Regular scoring on steroids.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Finishing positions is my problem with the Sunday. So on Friday, Saturday, they have just regular scoring, and then on Sunday, for the Showdown, you get points for your finishing position. So everyone just loads up on the guys at the very top. Everyone's 80% owned.
It's a good game theory,
actually.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I would assume the guys that are higher up, if they aren't necessarily priced high on the main slate, do they price those guys up because they're high up in the field too?
They've gotten better at it,
yeah.
Gotten better, much better, yep.
Interesting.
So there are some courses where you'll get 2 par 5s and a stretch of 3 holes. And on a Showdown slate, you can definitely think about how par 5 scoring might be more impactful as far as generating birdie streaks there. And then the other thing that our projections take into account for Showdown is what holes guys are starting on. And so sometimes there are certain golfers who will get to play a stretch of 3 holes with 2 par 5s. another guy is starting on the back nine instead, and he's not going to get that opportunity. So there's some nuance there for Showdown. The only other thing I'd say on the win, I definitely agree with Davis. For the most part, it gets overblown. It usually matters a few times a year for the main slates, but it can definitely have a big impact for the Showdown slates when you're able to, like, the hard thing is you can't predict the weather like a day or two in advance. So you might know the wind today, but you're not going to know what it's going to be tomorrow for the same group. But on the Showdown slates, you definitely know that stuff, right? And the guys are going out early. They're going to get soft conditions, and they're going to get no wind. It's definitely an edge there that you can take into account if you're building lineups.
If you want to learn more about how to become a profitable daily fantasy sports player and how to get better at betting, start now by hitting the subscribe icon in the bottom right-hand corner so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.